Hi, my name is Jade Peak. I am a transgender woman from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I am currently in my second year of university. I am very political. I work on the Canadian Federation of Students as well as the Student Union of NSRAP University. I am a very spiritual individual. I am a Black Nova Scotian from Black Nova Scotian descent and Mi'kmaq heritage. I take pride in my Mi'kmaq background and are doing a lot of work to decolonialize and unite racialized and Indigenous peoples such as RISE, and that's me.
That's a hard act to follow. I'm Michael Davies-Cole. I am a two-spirited person. My heritage is Black Nova Scotian and Mi'kmaq. I am on the Dalhousie Student Union Council as a Black student representative. I've worked with various communities here in Nova Scotia and Ontario. I'm past co-chairs with Pride.
How old were you when you had your aha moment where everything was just clear? Because you always get those feelings, but you don't have your moment.
My aha moment came later because there was nothing to have an aha moment about. There was no connection.
Yeah.
And I literally do remember I was sitting in my house. It was like 2 years after getting a computer. I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I remember reading something, some newsline had just kind of caught my eye, and I read it, and I clicked onto the article, and the one strange thing about transgender, because that's what I first identified as, because I really wasn't very much in touch with my Native heritage at the time, was for some reason, it seems like female to male seem to follow the same course in life. Like, you know, join the military, did this. And so I'm reading this person's life and I'm like, I could insert me here. And then their reasoning of why they did all this and the reasoning of why they thought like that. And, they came up with this transgender thing. And that was my aha moment. I literally felt something wash over me.
Yeah.
And it was like having a puzzle in your head go click, 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 click. Yeah. Now everything makes sense.
Yeah.
And because like you said, there's cues when you're younger. Unfortunately for me, I moved a lot as a kid. I didn't stay in one family home all my life. And so a lot of those cues, I didn't have sounding boards. Like I did things as a child that waiting for like my male development that never happened. And then I would flip back to female, and I was okay with that. So I never had anybody to bounce these things off and say, this is normal? I don't know this is normal.
I was very involved with trans issues starting my first year in university. And then I devolved into more of racialized and Indigenous work and feeling more empowered by that. And the reason why is because I was in a lot of white trans spaces where I would they'd be like, oh wow, like very like value what I'm saying, but like, oh yeah, we didn't know that, like just like I was the fairy godmother of young Indigenous trans, like what the Black trans, like just like my question to you is, how do you feel about that as someone who is racialized and in those communities? How do you feel? Do you feel similar? Do you feel like it's become a commodity now about like tokenizing Black individuals who are trans or spirited?
Okay, there's kind of two questions in there, but I'm going to answer them. It's funny. I think I want to start off first by saying, hey, young trans people, you did not invent this fight. Trans issues didn't just start the day you discover you were born a baby trans. There were trans issues before you. There were people that fought the fight before you. There are people that lost the fight before you. There's a lot of trans deaths that happened. Stonewall was a trans woman of color who ended up dead in a harbor years later, standing up and being somebody. Now, and feel free to edit this, tone it down. I am not going to censor. White people, you did not invent, or white queer people, you did not invent, being the low person on the totem pole. I think that to answer your question, what I have found through the years is when you join these groups, you get in there and you listen to a lot of people naysay and complain and want to speak up about how can the world accept them for who they are, how can the world be their allies, how can the world recognize stuff they've gone through, and then turn around and do the exact same thing that straight people that are not of color will do to a person of color. I was, at my time when I was with NSRAP, I was the only person of color. The time that I was with just about every group in this province, I was the only person there of color. And it's not because like you said, there's not because there were not queer or trans or two-spirited people of color around. It was because and everybody, no matter what color, can understand as being any kind of like trans or queer or whatever. If you're not comfortable or feel safe in a straight environment, what makes you think that I will feel comfortable as a person of color in a queer environment that treats me the exact same way? Right, yeah. And when I try to vocalize how I feel about it, I get told, oh, well, you just don't understand. I totally understand, or you just don't understand, or it's not easy being gay, or it's not easy being lesbian either. When you go out your house every day, unless you swish and sway as a man, unless you are such a, and I'll use the old term, bull dyke as a woman, or unless you're wearing a t-shirt that says, hey, I am, nobody knows what you are. They don't know who you sleep with. They don't, unless you open your mouth, they don't even know what language you speak. And if you're a white person, that's how they accept you. When I walk out my door every day, I am a person of color no matter what I can do. You insult me when you equate your coming outness as queer, and I'm not devaluing queer issues. They're there. I'm with you on those. I am queer too. But you insult me when you devalue my issues of my color.
Right.
Because things like when Pride Health first started, when we had one of the first workshops, I remember them saying, we're only going to look at this from, like I brought up some things about color. And oh no, we're only going to look at this from queer, from the thing of, and I said, you can't look at it one way. When I walk into an emerge, I don't go, okay, I'm only queer right now. I walk in as a First Nations black person of color. I can't leave one of those home. So think of all the queerness that you're dealing with when you're a person that's not of color, and all those pains you've gone through. Now smack a little bit of color on that, especially Nova Scotian color, and feel the weight of that, and then come back and talk to me. And so I think that, and for politics-wise, I found that twice as bad within the political world. Everybody, it did, it was like, I get called up, oh, can you do this? Can you come do this? Can you come be this? Can you come be that? And I after a while, started hearing Michael Jackson in the back of my head going, I don't want to spend the rest of my life being a color. And it was like, but I've also learned that you can use that to your advantage. Yeah. Because it's not what gets you in the door, it's what you do when they get in there. Yeah. And many of these people that have called me up and said, hey, we want you for this, we want you for that, I'll say fine. I get in there and I mess it right up on them. Like I will use, if that's something that I feel is a space that should be spoken in and colors should be addressed in that, I will do that. And when they try to pull me off the topic, I'm like, I'm right back on there. And so, a lot of times people, I'm sure I regret it, using me as their token, but they can't come out and say it, because then it's like, oh, so you only want to be here for the face. Never turn down an opportunity to get through that door, but when you get through that door, you let it roll.